Haha, the Power Rangers reviews just continue on! So today, friends, I am taking a look at ZEO Ranger 5 Red and ZEO Ranger Gold 6. They just call them the Gold Ranger in the show. Now, the sculpts on these guys are mostly a reuse of the sculpts from the Mighty Morphin Legacy collection. They're, the standard body we've seen before, but they do have some differences. So if we compare, ZEO Ranger Red Tommy to the Red Ranger Jason, I guess it could be, Rocky, but, we'll say it's Jason. You can see they have a new upper torso because they had to sculpt all this ZEO stuff here, but those abs are the same. Pretty much the upper thighs are the same. Upper thighs, the upper legs, which are thighs, there's only one thigh really, those are the same. And then the boots are of course different because these have these cool cuffs. Now the glove part is different and the hands look to be the same. Actually no, they are different, which is strange because they totally could have gotten away with the same hands. See this little line here? It's pretty thin on the Mighty Morphin one, but it's thick on ZEO one. So they actually got new hands here. And of course they have new head sculpts, which take a look at. I really appreciate that the star on here is actually sculpted, and the lips are too, but they had to sculpt those because there's no paint to show them apart. Unfortunately, they still have those abs, which I find kind of distracting. But other than that, I really like the sculpts. In fact, I like the most this part, the shoulders, because they essentially solved this weird little lip thing that the Mighty Morphin figures had going on the shoulders there. Really digging the sculpt on these guys so far. Now on the Gold Ranger, the little lines on his helmet are actually sculpted on too. It's very thin, but you can feel it. I doubt you can really see it because the paint lines up very well on it. And speaking of the paint, it would be nice to have some kind of wash because they sculpted all these nice little details into a shield, go all the way around, but the details don't really pop out because there's no wash, obviously. But the paint is pretty clean. I don't really notice any slop, although the problem everyone's going to have with the paint is the shade of gold that the ZEO Ranger is. This looks kind of bronzy, brownish, yellowy. Look at the gold on the White Ranger. I think they pulled it off better on this guy. Look at the gold on his visor. Like, the gold on the visor looks like the gold on the White Ranger. Not the gold down here. He should be gold all around, but it is passable, I guess. There's just not that much more to say about the paint. The real downside is the gold sucks, but everything else is very clean. It's very good. There's not a lot of paint application. I'm pretty happy with the paint. Just wish the gold was nicer. Now the articulation is really the same as what we've seen before. Every Ranger gets a swivel hinged head. It swivels around and it hinges. I don't really think it's ball joint because it doesn't really get side to side. And then they get hinge and swivel shoulders, and they actually go up higher than the Mighty Morphin, I guess because they got rid of that plastic part on the lip there. And they go all the way around, of course. Swivel at the bicep too. Double elbows. No swivel at the top of the gloves this time. Ooh, I don't think it's just stuck. I think it's really not there. There's no swivel at the top of the gloves now. Interesting. Then they get double swivels at the balls on the wrist. So you can hinge it that way, and then you could twist it, and you can, if you can twist it, and then you can hinge it the other way, which I really like. It's kind of hard to work it, but it does work well when you want to get a specific pose. Moving further down, each Ranger, of course, gets an ab crunch, and my Red Ranger only goes this far forward and only that far back. I'm not really sure what they changed to make it so limited there. Well, actually, I am sure. It's the upper torso. They changed that, but why did they replace it with something that hardly gets as much range as the Mighty Morphin ones by comparison? I don't know. But the Gold ZEO Ranger obviously has the same ab crunch, and I feel like it gets much better movement. You can go a little more further forward and back, and what they were trying to do with the shield on the White Ranger, I think works a lot better here. You crunch him forward, and the gap just takes the difference for the shield, and then it'll sort of go back when you're done crunching him. Each Ranger gets a swivel at the waist, and neither one's belts gets in the way at all. Then they have hinged hips and cuts at the thighs there to move around. They get double knees, nothing at the boots, and they have hinge and pivot ankles. So excellent articulation. I'm kind of surprised like the boots and the gloves got cut in the interim since Mighty Morphin, but it's still fine articulation. I have no problem with it really. So here's what both of the ZEO Rangers were like in their packaging. You got a picture of the character down there, you got the ZEO logo there, and up there, so you can find it on the shelf easier, I guess. On the back of each box, get a picture of the ZEO Megazord, which I won't be building because I don't want to buy the whole team. Anyways, it's pretty much the same as all the other Legacy Edition packaging. Let's just open it up now. No twist ties on him, thankfully. And no twist ties on Gold. Awesome packaging. First up, when it comes to accessories, the Red Ranger comes with this. It is the right arm of the ZEO Megazord, and here it is compared to the Megazord, the Dino original. And it looks to be the same size as the arm on that, so they should scale up nicely, but I'm not really going to complete it because this is all I really want from the ZEO team. Next, Red Ranger comes with a ZEO laser pistol, and a ZEO power pod, and a couple of hip holsters for both of them. The Gold ZEO Ranger just comes with this, his power staff. So, remind me again, Bandai, what happened to the thing with 6 Rangers don't come with Build-A-Megazords because they get extra accessories? Because this guy's got 5 things, and this guy's got 1 thing. I mean, I guess this thing's a bit cooler, but still, what's going on here, right? Anyways, the Red Ranger can hold the laser pistol and the power pod fine in both of his hands, and there's one thing on the show that these things could do is they could actually combine, surprise, surprise, and Power Rangers weapons, and I mean, that's not getting replicated here. These guys don't click together in any way, which would have been kind of neat. You really just had to put like a peg in a hole or something, Bandai. There's nice gold paint on the power pod thing, though, and silver. And I think this little bit down here is supposed to also be gold, but, you know, I'm not that picky. I'm fine with the paint on this, honestly. There is also supposed to be gold paint on this, like on that, the ZEO wheel thing there, especially, and I think some more up here, but again, I'm not that picky. It's decent enough, although I kind of wish there was some application of gold. Anyways, let's put these things in their holsters and clip them on to the Red Ranger's hip. So they really just clip in like the hip holsters of the Mighty Morphin figures, and yeah, that's all there is to it. I think he looks kind of silly with 2 weapons on each side, but that's what they did in the show, believe it or not. And these things are kind of tough to poke in, tougher than the Mighty Morphin ones, although those might just be older and thus looser. But there he is with both weapons. Looking at the Gold Ranger's accessories next, I should really say accessory, because he only gets this, the Golden Power Staff. On the show, this thing could extend, and the toy, it doesn't, and this thing could open up, and on the toy, it doesn't. And it was a pretty firm staff, and on the toy, it isn't. But I will say this, they didn't miss any paint details, it seems. Everything that should be red is red, and silver is silver, and gold is gold, and the shaded gold may not be the best, but at least it matches with what the Gold Ranger's got. Anyways, you can poke that staff in the Gold Ranger's hand, and yeah, that's really all there is to it. He doesn't have a holster to hold it, and he doesn't get anything extra, like a Build-A-Megazord part. I feel kind of gypped on his accessories, honestly. Scale time! So red and gold both stand at about 6 3/4 inches tall. Here's ZEO Red with the original red, and since ZEO Red is Tommy, here he is with Tommy and Tommy. We got a real fighting spirit thing going on here, and I just love it, friends! Now let's look at ZEO Gold with the previous 6 Rangers, who are ironically much better shades of gold than him. And in the Sentai, he was actually a Black Ranger, so here he is with one of those. Last up, here they are with my 6-inch Batman and Spider-Man from DCUC Marvel Legends, and yeah, like I've said before, I don't really think these Legacy collection figures scale up well with them, especially when you consider the fact that the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and the ZEO Rangers are all supposed to be teenagers, so it doesn't really work out. So friends, I do ultimately recommend getting these 2 Legacy figures, especially if you want to complete the ZEO team, because it's possible Hasbro actually released the whole ZEO team. But ultimately, I feel like there are a few improvements and a few drawbacks from the Mighty Morphin figures. Mainly, I like how they changed the shoulders, and then there's a couple drawbacks with articulation that, you know, are not that great, and especially with the accessories on this guy, that's a huge drawback compared to what the Green Ranger came with. The Green Ranger came with like 2 swords, a holster, alternate hands, and this guy just comes with his weapon, and that's it. I mean, I don't remember him using much else, but like, you gotta throw in some alternate hands or something, Bandai. This is why you lost the license to Hasbro, and you just why you're going under. And we're not here to talk about all that. We're just here to talk about how awesome these Power Rangers ZEO figures are, and they're not quite up there with the Mighty Morphin, maybe, but I still think they're plenty good enough for their price point. So until next time, friends, peace out.